I'm recording this video and I am sweating. If you know anything about Arizona, right now it's 116 outside. We got the window open for lighting. We got a light here. We got a light here. Y'all, a bitch is hot. Hi, what is up? I am so happy that you are here right now. And since I'm talking about you, I wanted to ask you, can you go ahead and give yourself a compliment today? I'm gonna go ahead and go first. Girl, I love your ass. I'm talking about my ass. I mean, I am bisexual, so I might like your ass too. Let's go ahead and get in with the video. Hi, my name is Shani and I am a licensed professional clinical counselor. And today, y'all, I just got into posting static posts recently on Instagram, and I posted the things that I wish I knew before becoming a therapist, and I got so many comments from therapists, and I was like, wow. I know that as a therapist, I'm not alone, but it can be a very isolating job because you see clients, and even if you work in an office, you see clients, and then in between clients, you have time to like go run to the bathroom, eat your quinoa, and then you might see like, you know, Tanya in her office. You'd be like, hey girl, how you doing? How was your weekend? Yeah, that was good. Okay, I'm doing good too. My kids stressed me out. I gotta go, got a client. It was nice catching up. Boom, bye. That's how isolating this job can be. And that's actually one of the things that did not land on this list, but I wish that I would have known as a therapist, is that the job can be very isolating. And by isolating, I mean like having that camaraderie. Yes, you can talk to other therapists, but for the most part, you can feel very alone in this job. So without further ado, let's jump into it. These are the things I wish I knew before becoming a therapist. Number one, got the post right here. Yes, we do. The first thing is that sometimes clients will ghost you and you will never know why. Now, I'm not talking about a client that you see the first time and then they don't come back. That's not the type of client I'm talking about. I am talking about the client that you may have been seeing for like 2 years, routinely. They don't even show up late. You might be late. You might be running like 2 minutes late, but they ain't never late. And then one day they don't show up. And you might be like, oh snap, wait, hold on a second. Is everything okay? Did they hurt themselves? Let me go ahead and check in. And you will call, you will text, you will email, and it's like the person never existed. Sometimes as a therapist, I'd be sitting there thinking, I'd be like, did I hallucinate this person? Was I talking to myself for 2 years? Nah, ain't no way, because you got them progress notes. Them progress notes, they're your proof that person existed. And I found that I've had to tell myself as a therapist that when a client ghosts me, I can't take on that responsibility. What I mean by that is I have, early in my career, when a client has ghosted, been like, what was it that I said in the last session? What was it that I did? Why aren't they coming back? And I've learned that it ain't my fault no more. I can't take on that responsibility. I can't take on that responsibility because I am making an assumption. Yes, it might have been something that I said or did. However, at the same time, it just may have been that person themselves. And I refuse. I'm out here healing people. You hear me? I refuse to let one person make me feel like I can't continue to do this job. And knowing that it might not even be something big. It might just be the person's like, you know what? I got what I needed from you and I don't want to say goodbye. Some people don't do well with goodbyes. I wish that I would have known about clients ghosting you. The next thing that I wish that I would have known is that the most powerful work that you do as a therapist is showing up and being present and not always about what you say. Now, when you're in grad school, you do role plays, right? And I feel like when you're trying to do these role plays, you're really trying to like hone in, making sure you give them that one phrase that just gonna stick with them. That's just gonna be like, they gonna reference it. They're gonna be sitting down at a family event, you know, someone giving them side eye and they gonna think what you said in the session. You know, we always try to get to those phrases and they happen. But sometimes the most powerful work, honestly, is just sitting down with the human being and being present with them. Like being present and in the moment with them, recognizing their body language, how they're talking, because that really works off of the therapeutic alliance. Like there are times when I can tell if a client comes into a session and they don't want to be there. They might have a lot to talk about, but I can tell you don't want to be here today. And let's talk about that. Let's talk about why you don't want to be here today, because that is going to be important versus what you're bringing me from what happened last week. And being present lets that person know, I am here with you. Because oftentimes in our clients' lives, people aren't present and seeing them and hearing them and knowing that you are modeling that they are worthy, they matter, they are important. Yo, that's the work right there. I feel like I just got got goosebumps with that, because on the reverse, having been a client, sometimes I can tell when my therapist truly sees me and is not just trying to throw out the next phrase or not trying to give me or make me process. Like, she truly sees me, and that's chef's kiss right there. You won't be a good fit for every client. Nope. I wish that professors would hone in on this, because I feel like when I was in grad school, which was over a decade ago, don't come for me, girl, black don't crack. That was over a decade ago, and it was really like CBT. I don't know if they still do this in grad school, and I really feel like they need to stop, but it was like CBT. CBT works with every single client. That's what they say in grad school, right? And because of that, I would feel like I should be a good fit for every client. If I got the models that work, then why aren't I a good fit? It's because I'm human, baby. I'm human. And I feel like there were just certain things that people go through, and I have my own stuff too, that I can't always be processing some things with certain clients. And yes, that's my own stuff, and I own that. And that's knowing when I am out of my scope of practice. And sometimes the scope of practice isn't just about models and theories. It's sometimes about, I just can't do this. And I really, really wish that was talked about a lot more, because it can make you feel like a failure as a clinician when something's off and you're like, why am I not a good fit here? And sometimes it's not the models and theories, like I said before. Sometimes it's just these two human beings don't work well together. There was a particular client that when I worked with them, I remember feeling very much like my skin was on fire. And the reason for that was because my own stuff was being activated. And this is where supervision and consultation comes in, talking to my supervisor and consultant about this, of like, Shani, that's your own stuff. And I'm like, oh, you mean to tell me I could not be a good fit for a client because I'm human, because I'm going through some stuff? Yes. And sometimes it's just like, I can't help you with that because I don't know how. I learned very early on in my career. Yes, when you're starting out, you sort of take on new ventures when it comes to clients, right? Because you don't really have like a foundation, sort of like your tools yet. And you sort of figure out what your niche is and what you're good at when it comes to being a therapist. But once you figure that out, you kind of have to decide, do I want to figure out something new when you take on different clients? And is it out of my scope of practice too? That is something that segue into the next thing I wish we talked about, and things I wish I knew, is that your scope of practice changes. So when they tell you that ethically you have to notify clients when you are out of your scope of practice, knowing that you are an evolving human being and you are constantly learning. And because of that, there are going to be times when things are out of your scope of practice. And also too, you may work with a client, let's say for like 2 years, y'all been working on relationship stuff and you're like, yes, we got that. And then they bring up some trauma and you're trauma informed, not trauma trained. And you're like, oh, that's out of my scope of practice. But that don't mean that you can't work with the client anymore. No, that may mean that you have to refer the client out for that particular thing. Schools, y'all got to do better. This one, in grad school, we were always told, do not sleep with your clients. Do not sleep. Like, I've got it ingrained in my head, baby. I ain't sleeping with nobody. But what they fail to tell you is that you will meet some of the most wonderful people in the world and never be able to be their friend. Now, I say never because I know that, yes, for some boards, for some states, it can be, 7 years after the therapeutic relationship ends, 2 years, 3 years, whatever. For me personally, I just feel like there's a power differential in the relationship now that I just can't cross that line, because I know so much about you and you know very little about me. And because you trusted me in a certain area at one point, I don't want to disrespect that relationship or make that relationship shift or change if we become friends. Because let's be honest, friends go through shit. And when friends go through shit, the last thing that I want you to start thinking about if you were a client of mine is when we go through shit, I don't want that to impact the therapeutic work that we've done. And so sometimes it breaks my heart because I remember when I said goodbye to some of my clients this year and I was just like, yo, you are so dope. And I would totally be your friend if we hadn't met under these circumstances. And it can be it's a different type of grief saying goodbye in a way, knowing that this is someone that you totally see a friendship in. And I wish that was talked about enough as a therapist, being able to grieve a relationship that you would love to see more and grow in, but ethically you cannot. And the last thing that I wish that was talked about was struggling to connect with the client does not make you a bad therapist. Yes, you have therapist and client, but if we strip ourselves of those titles, we're left with human and human. And even though a therapist can have tools and a client recognizes that a therapist is there to help them, that doesn't always mean that two people will connect, because we're coming from two different worldviews. Sometimes we're coming from two different upbringings, we're coming from two different backgrounds, we're coming from two different races, we're coming from two different genders sometimes, how we identify, and those things can impact the relationship, and those things can impact the work that is done. Because yes, I have these tools and theories that I am familiar with, but I'm bringing them from my worldview. I am bringing them from how I am as a person. The way that I deliver them, the way that I think about them are impacted by me as a person. Just the same way as a client entering into the space of the therapeutic relationship is impacted by who they are. And I'm not saying the therapist may not like the client, but there may be a moment where we're just struggling to connect, because the most important thing when it comes to the success of therapy is the relationship between the therapist and the client. Because if the therapist and the client don't have that relationship, there have been studies out there that have said the success of therapy is more likely to be decreased. So struggling to connect with a client does not make me a therapist. It just makes me a human, because I struggle to connect with people on a regular basis. Can we be honest? I want to thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you gained something from this video today, whether it was a laugh or something educational. And I hope that you know that you matter, and I want to thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.